Oh shit. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Andre. Um, so I'll start over. I was talking about how this market has been plagued by breakout failures and breakdown failures. And there's a real nasty one breaking out there above all of those pivot highs, anticipation of the earnings report, which I don't, no one expected it to be bad. But here we got this sell off and a close under the 50 MA and moving a bit lower pre market. The other thing that we've seen time and time again is that these wide range bars get negated. So while there's nasty sell offs, and it may follow through, look at the size of this one. That was a gap up and a crap. But it took a while. It took I guess, several weeks to retest. But coming down, I don't know if it's going to go down to the bottom of the range because we look step by step. Where's the next pivot point over to the left? And that would be just below 180. So if that's in the cards that this is going to drop, it would have to drop, as you can see, another 2 points to get down there. Um, if it was to go and down there, maybe by 10 o'clock, the first reversal period, we would get some kind of a bounce. But gapping down from a bearish wide range bar of that size would suggest some kind of an attempt to bounce just technically. Not that it's going to change the mess that this pattern is in, but some kind of a bounce, whether it's from there or down there, makes sense to me. And then from there, we'll see what the Qs do. Unless that sell off yesterday, it could not lift off. So the selling was relentless, and that's institutional selling getting out of that. And they'll come back for it again. All right, so let's look around these other markets. Let's see where these other futures markets are at. Um, and as I looked around, I looked through the Magnificent Seven. Apple is actually unchanged. They're up a little bit. I think it's closer to unchanged, but it's not moving down like the rest are. But as I looked around at different instruments, what I saw was primarily most things are just within the slop to the left. And so this came up to the prior pivot high. We got the sell off. Now it's here. I guess it comes down to test this pivot. Let's go to 65 minute. So if the sell off continues this morning, which I hope it does, because the more fluid and violent something is, the greater the potential for it to bounce. And as an intraday trade, that's all I'm interested in. Um, Intermediate term, what's going to happen within this time frame, it's still in development mode because it's just a giant mess. So, does this all suggest the potential for eventually, breaking down below here? I don't think anybody knows. There's just so much erratic price movement. We just take it day by day and put each bar in the context of what preceded it and the pivots there. So, and then compress it. You can see the weekly chart. Does it eventually break down below this consolidation that's been going on now uh, for months? We'll see. I think that, going down a little bit further, as I mentioned, I think at the end of last week, it was the sentiment gauges got toward a bullish level, a lot more put buying. And we'll see at SPX how much that's moved down already. And that tends to put a floor under the markets. Um, well, fluid, Robert defined, we went through, I think I mentioned that in our session yesterday. So just for those that are relatively new, fluid is like this, right? You have you have bars that move up higher, high, higher, low bars. That's fluid. Now, violent is big. That's violent, right? So this is violent. It's fluid and violent, where you get big bars going down, lower, high, lower, low bars, violent. You can have violence, in one bar, and you can have igniting bars and ending bars. So this is relatively violent how that came down. And so, look, don't get too hung up on terminology. I mean, we have to have terminology to communicate with each other as to the patterns we're looking at. But in the end, you know, we can put all the technical terms on what we do. We look at pictures, right? We look at pictures, and I look at this picture and I go, oh, wow, that came down in a nasty, violent kind of way. And then, as I explained in yesterday's session, and in every webinar I do and in courses, it's a thought process. And so each concept, whether it's an individual bar, like a bottoming tail bar or a wide range bar, and then you have pivots, pivot highs and pivot lows, which are support and resistance, and all the things we look at it that you build on them together, greater than 100% retracement concept. So that came down violently, a greater than 100% retracement. I'm anticipating uh, stabilization. What does that look like? Right? Go to the next picture. Ah, you bought the bar by bar course. Awesome. Brownie, you will love it. And yeah, if you have questions, certainly email me, Greg at Master Trader. And you know, you know, I made it a bit differently than the swing course. There's lots of small little sections, and I recorded things as I was doing it to explain those charts in the moment. So um, you'll love it. All right. All right. So let's continue. Like I said, most of these things that are moving around here are within sloppy ranges overall. Uh, there's the S&P sloppy range, SPY. Let's go there. And I'll look at YM. Now spiders, where are they at here? Into the mess down there. Maybe it's headed down to the bottom of the range again. I've got this marked off, you know, right here. Maybe it's going to come down toward that 180. So part of what we do day in and day out is mark off our reference points. And if a reference point potentially might line up with a subjective reference point like a trader pivot line or a 51 or 100 MA, you can see the blue line, the 20 is equal to the 100 on the daily. Somewhere down there, you can see where my cursor is. That again, that's the 20 on the weekly, which is equal to the 100 on the daily. So if price is coming down into this area of support where there's a moving average, and if there's a trader pivot line there today, it's likely to bounce. And if we were to get an NYSE tick stream at the same time, do the same thing we've been doing the last several days. Look for a correction bar as prices move at the low, they start to make a bottom. All right. So that's generally the plan. Let's look at other markets. Oh, here's SPX. I'll just double check that because things are jiggling around a little bit. Um, hmm. Wow. Okay, so not a huge difference. It came up a little bit as the market bounced. These things move fast, but we do the best we can at you know finding the extremes, which are probable extremes. And yesterday, nothing got touched. As I said, probably 98% of the time, these extremes don't get touched. So they give you excellent guides as to where prices are highly unlikely to go. So prices being down here, rally all the way back up to here? No. Down there today, bring it on, but it ain't going to happen. So what do you do from there? Strikes above 6,900. You want to be on the other side of a whole number. Anything below 6,800 should be a no-brainer, and it lines up with major support. And what we've seen time and time again as markets move away from 6,900, especially if they move away, whatever you can measure here, right? Let's just call it 100 strikes, 100 handles, moving away from there. It gets dragged back to 6,900. So I would keep that in mind for a bias. But can it even get below 6820-ish where these lows are? But if that's in the cards, 6,800, set an alert, tick extreme, coming down there. Odds are the rubber band is stretched too far. It's going to pull it back. Yes, we'll look at silver. Gold is looking like it's going to go higher. We've been talking about that pre-market. This is a beautiful pattern of a move up, a red bar ignored, sideways, new buy set up above the highs. And the gold miners are already making new all-time highs. So they're leading the way. And on the news this morning, inflation, oh yeah, right, spike up. Silver looks great. That's already taken out. The green bar is high. And look at the size of that void. These concepts are amazing. They are amazing. I mean, remove your Ichikumi clouds and your MACDs and just look to the frickin' left, right? Sorry to be so graphic, but look, wide range bar. It's the weakest link. It's a power bar. You got to respect it. Rebuilding the damage, right? This creates uncertainty. Apply bar by bar analysis. I mean, it's one of the most powerful things. You apply pivots and bar by bar analysis, and it has to shift your bias, right? We are our own worst enemies as we get caught up in the past and look at information that, oh my God, and you read stuff on the internet, and it's like, okay, silver's going to crash and this and that, and you start applying these empty concepts, and it's like, this thing's acting well. It's going to go up. And you know what? That wide range bar created a monster void. There's nothing to stop it from going higher. Look at that. There's nothing. Now, does that mean it's got to go up there? No, but you're not stuck in the past of thinking it's going down to the 200 MA, right? Erythium, yes, maybe. We'll look at ETHE. Well, it's down here now. So what you're asking me, Robert, looking at this is, could this turn into a bottoming tail bar today? Of course it could, but right now it's gapping down to that low. Where does today end? That's, what we're always after. So as we look at the futures, right, you can see that's pulling. If that turns into a bottoming tail bar today, then absolutely it's a buy above the highs. And today could be a great day as far as making, bringing some clarity to these patterns. Wide bar up, inside bar. If this turns into a bottoming tail bar, but look, you're asking a question because that would give us longs. But what if it's a wide range bar that's closing down at 62.50, 60, well, whatever this pivot is, 62.95? It's like, well, that ain't happening. All right, look at crude oil. All right, continue. Look, you got these inflation numbers coming out that not good. And crude oil's nearing these highs here. And it's coming up to this pivot, but it tested that partially here. That looks like it's going up. I don't know how the president is going to have comments about this after, Venezuela and now Iran. And so, look, inflation, Iran, if Iran, they come out of those talks and, it's like, hey, you know what, we're all going to be nice and blah, blah, blah. This could collapse, but, it's coming up to resistance, but that certainly looks like it's going to continue to go higher. Yeah, and you got interest rates that are falling here. You can see bond prices. There's the 10-year. That's coming up. So, this makes me think this is coming up to resistance. Crude oil's coming up to resistance. Markets have support underneath. maybe we get 20 minutes of hysteria after the open where things sell off. And then as prices hit their reference points to the left, they bounce, right? This pulls back. Markets bounce. We see where we go by the end of the day. It's Friday. And as we always do, we make the best of what is offered to us on a day-to-day basis. And I'm going to hand this over to Dan. I know I didn't look at the Dow, but same story. It's coming down to the bottom of this consolidation. After we see what today ends, if it ends with a bearish day, well, then maybe we speculate that things are going to go lower next week, but it's too early. Oh, in addition, this is another one that we've been talking about. Everybody's talking about software having collapsed and this nice move off of the low, the breakdown failure. And last I looked, it was about right around here. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this can start to go sideways and create another amazing pattern for prices to move higher. All yours, Dan. Oh, Brownie, you wrote to me on Instagram. I only post stuff there using a piece of software that posts there. I rarely go on to Instagram or any social media myself, but I'll go take a look.
Yeah, on IGV, what we would want is going sideways for an inverse head and shoulder. Greg talked about gold. I had an up alarm. We're in this in the ETF letter. That's obviously a bad tick. Whenever you see a bad tick, you got to go to a smaller time frame, and it's a bad tick. Well, that's pre-market, but yesterday went to 470. So yeah, that's a bullish pattern. We're already in it, but to add, we're in the Hotel Lima directional and put spread. And so that looks fantastic to add. I'm going to put that in a window. To add Ava alarm. I think this was an earnings, but I said if it could get above this red bar, my up alarm went off, but now it's back down, so nothing will do until it's here. We did a put spread yesterday. My up and down alarms went off. Let's go to earnings now. I deleted a bunch like always. Mara gap breakout, $9.50. So on a pullback, looks good. 17.18. Okay, so if this stays above 17 and chops around, then that would be bullish consolidation, maybe to buy a 30-minute high. Curve getting whacked, 85. That's a nasty gap. I have no idea if it's, this is actually a pattern. You could trade 30-minute high or low for a day trade. Our buyer's going to step up on support, or 30-minute low, bring it down to 75. I have no idea. A ping bottoming pattern. If it can get back above yesterday's high, then that's you could start scaling in bottoming pattern. Look at the 20 MA starting to flatten out. Oh, nothing. Rocket Lab, that's an ugly gap. That's no pattern. RKT, that's bullish. 1860. That's pretty good. That's a 30-minute high. And put spread. Rocket Companies, that's that mortgage company out in Detroit. A big old fat sideways pattern. Condor, if there's any juice. XYZ. I was looking to sell puts on that yesterday, but there's not enough juice. Now the gap's excessive. To it. Let's watch a retest. Nothing to do now. Munster, we were in this. We sold yesterday before earnings, gapping up a little bit. Nothing to do. Dell, I was looking to do a bottoming pattern also. I mean, a put spread, but I didn't do any. Put spread on a pullback. Oh, bottoming pattern will come back. AES 1750. It's a gap breakout. And the monthly has room. The high 18s, but you need a pullback. That's a mess. Gapping down, stick around. Floppy buy setup from a breakout failure. So that's a poor quality buy setup. Big, beautiful bar into on volume into earnings. Gapping up too much, but that would have been a great pattern had we got a 1, 2, 3. But no interest on Zulu Sierra. That's an ugly gap. Well, it's gapping on the prior low. Let's see what it does. Put it here. ZS middle chart. X-ray 1320. And that's bullish gap, but no pattern. Put spread, if anything. Flat, one of these gambling companies. That's a power nasty downtrend. Whether it's a short-term exhaustion or not, I don't know. But today is Friday, so it's a 0 DTE candidate. I will put that in a window. Real. Big old gap, 30-minute low, 0 DTE call spread. 64, same 30-minute low, call spread. Duolingo getting whacked. Have it in the bottom right. So I have this in the category that's an ugly gap. But let's see if buyers step up. 0 DTE. Looks good. That was a nice closing breakout. I see it gapping up a little bit. But if it opens flat or down a little bit, then 30-minute high, I like. Autodesk gapping up a little bit. That would be an interesting 0 DTE here. Put that in a window. That's a sloppy buy setup. Again, a retracement from a square top. No interest. Delta Victor gapping down a mess. And tab down a buck. That was a call spread. If there's any juice, that I like. Bearish engulfing at the 50. Breakout failure. A foreign company gapping out of prior lows. Will come back. CAI 2190 gapping resistance. No pattern. SPT bearish downtrend. Blob opening flat. 15 minutes okay. It could be a day trade. 30-minute high. Cube gapping down. You could set an alarm at 40.20. And then we can reassess. This opening flat. I'll set an alarm at $14. Hmm. Uh, Laser gapping down 55.50. Call spread if there's any juice. RC looks like that's going to the graveyard. I don't like swing shorting stocks under $5, but day trade that tightens up could do, short big share size on that. And junky bottoming pattern, no interest, PBA flat, extended. It's gapping up, but under Wednesday, I'd prefer a call spread as an M top, but it's too extended for me for any bullish pattern. This was a small little retest. I like the volume, closing breakout, gapping up too much. But that was another good pattern to sell puts on. Sam's grinder, gapping up. This bar it rested. So I think this has room. High 12s. Make it a day trade on it. HR gapping down. Nothing. Well, actually, that's a nice 30-minute low. Let me put that back. And if I see. All right. Bill's gonna go off. See Duolingo bottom right. Bouncing here. I don't do anything with earnings in the first 5 minutes. This Ava alarm earnings. We had an alarm at 14. If it can bobble around, I like that after 10 a.m. buying yesterday's high. I'll set a new alarm, 14:20. Apple's weak, Nvidia's weak, Tesla's weak, Netflix gapped up. Remember yesterday I said it looked like an intermediate term bottom? It looks like the market, or 2 days, it's Wednesday I said that. Wednesday was a gap and go, and I'm like, this looks like the bottom for intermediate term. Man, so that could be a call spread, 0 DTE. That's a short-term gap and crap. And I'll bet there's juice on it because he's in the news. A ping up alarm. Ava just hit the higher alarm. Duolingo, that's a junky pattern, but they're going to be spready. But look, it's already rallied $11 off the low there. Ava, I already said it, but I would love after 10 a.m. buying yesterday's high. Kaping, that's a bottoming pattern. Kaping, if it were to close like this. Let me check puts. Chinese though, or Korean or something really. All right, so we didn't bounce very far. We have a bearish gap down, 15 hourly, topping tail. So I agree with Greg. I'd prefer some more washout.
Views are forming a bullish wide range more than the futures retesting. Big 5-minute bar up.
My data's not updating. When you said bullish, I was like, what are you talking about? Mine has a big old topping tail. Trading's hard enough when you don't have accurate data. But my laptop's fine. All right, Zulu Sierra. It's holding here at the prior low. Got paying the 18s for today or 8 cents by 22. So
Dow got slammed back down.
Zulu Sierra 145 for today. It's spready 110 by 150, but it does have juice. So I'll keep an eye on him, maybe 30-minute high. Pelletier. Up alarm on Pelletier. We have a put spread.
Yeah, that's a gap and snapper.
What's a gap and snapper? Not that. No.
Pelletier.
Yeah.
On semiconductor, nothing for today, but watch that lower high, lower low into rising 20 and 50. That should make a turn next week.
Oh, yeah. So then